Go ahead.
There's the.
And this means about the
proposed
opioid settlement
resolution.
participation, so.
That is a proposed amendment.
The only real question I have to our attorney is,
Yes.
are the opioid attorneys happy with the settlement?
That's correct. So,
Okay.
let me read you kind of. So without going into specifically what was said, I guess, the instructions were basically very clear on how to go about opting back in by a specific date, and their advice was to opt back in before.
15th.
Yes, March 15th. Well, to have our meeting before March 15th. The, what I want to show you is there was a question, and there were a couple questions that came up at the last meeting. So where did I put that Excel spreadsheet?
Is this recorded?
Yeah, it's recorded.
Board meeting?
Oh, yeah, believe so.
Okay. Well, while I look for something, did anybody have any specific questions about any of the documentation?
I have one.
Yeah, go
The
ahead.
one I have is the lawsuit that we have with Purdue Pharma also the lawsuit that's out there with Johnson & Johnson and Merck and others? Because I see on TV where Purdue Pharma was kind of a standalone settlement, and then all these others are settling as well. So are they the same? Are there two different ones, or what?
I believe that in terms of the House bills application, they apply to all those
Okay.
settlements because it's referenced as opioid litigation as a general catch-all, and then that's defined.
Okay.
And I would say Purdue Pharma is. In terms of what this specific agreement covers, it doesn't reference the Purdue Pharma litigation at all. However, did they file bankruptcy at some point?
Purdue did, but that's how they,
That
the
may have
judge stepped
kicked.
in and said, here's what's gonna happen, you know, through the
Multi-district
the
litigation.
bankruptcy, that's when the judge goes, here's what you're
Okay.
gonna pay, and then they come back and said, no, wasn't good enough, their first opt-in, so.
Okay.
So I guess, and I don't mean to cut anybody off, but I mean, unless somebody else got questions, but
I just talked to him earlier, I think, I'm not the exact figure, but I think we get like $158,000 a year over 18 or 20 years, when all's said and done.
And that's what I've actually been trying to figure out for the last couple of days is where the payout
Yeah,
timeline
It's
is
eight.
structured. Is it 18?
18 years is what I,
and that won't be able to be free spent. Here it is on the back page, so I mean, I think there's limits to what we can spend it on. It's not like we can just go pave roads with it or something.
Well, some of it is unrestricted.
Yeah.
the message I got was based off the new language and formula, these are the forecasts I was given, presuming the municipalities opt in. Scott County would get 3.99, and that's paid out over 18 years. So I'm good with it. Like I said, as long as our attorneys are going to be taken care of, and we don't have to come back and pay them.
How does he get paid?
Well,
Yeah.
actually, that is your professional services agreement right here. You can see the specific outline of how the payments will be made to him, depending on
Okay.
which, yes, the actual attached.
So they're going to be paid out of our money, or are they going to be paid out of the overall money?
It's like it's held by the Indiana Budget Office, I guess, in a fund that is distributed
For all
pursuant to statute for all the firms. It's the budget agency, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a, I want to be clear because there was a question about you wanted to make sure that your attorneys were being fairly compensated.
Yeah.
Under Indiana code, there's a reduced settlement percentage that they get, but you can see in the tables in payment of attorney's fees to counsel that under the McKesson Amerisource Corporation. The total amounts to be paid were $218,000, $218,643.29. That was based on a distribution of 2.5 million. Under that, and then under the second amount, which was Johnson & Johnson, there was $589,329.24 distributed, and the payment fee total was $51,271.64. So the total amount distributed would be around 260 some $1,000 to your attorneys.
But if they're happy with it, then
That's,
it
yeah.
has to be right.
In your agreement, also, we are going to designate Frank Dudenheffer Jr. From the Dudenheffer Law Firm in New Orleans with the address and email on there to receive the funds pending an agreement to receive and disperse the same on behalf of those groups and how to receive it. He will hold that in trust. All attorneys have it's called an IOLTA, well, here in Indiana, it's called an IOLTA trust account. It's where you put money that's not necessarily yours at the time. You're doing work towards it, or you're receiving. It's like an escrow account, essentially. Not exactly, but if you receive it, disperse that. So we're designating him as the person to receive ours from the budget office, not the total payments, but the attorney's fees pieces. But that's so that they can come to some agreements, because when it's dispersed, there'll need to be a bunch of tax information that's provided and things like that. So,
So what do you need from us?
today I do want to show you all the metrics calculation for all of the counties. Okay, let me open this up. This is what I was looking for.
So the overall amount, I'm sorry, I have not had time to read this. I've had a lot
Yeah.
of had an aunt die and all that.
I'm sorry.
How much are we going to get?
So
3 point what?
I'm going to answer that question.
I was originally told 3.9, but he's saying, John said it comes out 3.2 or something.
But I'd be wrong too.
So Scott County will receive $2,171,729.35 from, that is part of the 35% under the bill that was changed that is restricted. Okay, it can only be used for certain purposes that are outlined in the Indiana Code.
Which is what I would assume be helping people who
It's, yes,
are
correct.
addicted to opioids.
Yes, it is. Distributions under this subdivision may be used only for programs of treatment, prevention, care that are best practices as defined or required in the sub documents or court orders. So again, that would be for opioid use disorder and any co-occurring substance use disorders or mental health disorders that occur as a result of opioid addiction.
So if we was to build an inpatient hospital for that, that would be covered.
I believe that would probably be covered, yes, yeah. Now, I want to be clear that there's an additional $930,741.15 that is distributed as part of
Okay.
subsection 2 of the same section, which is according to a weighted distribution formula. Again, there's no restriction in the code on how A2 would be used, but they would be distributed to the agency settlement funds through the Office of the Attorney General, and they would make distributions on a yearly basis. There's some payout schedules here as well, but basically what I want you to be able to look at is you can essentially look up each of the individual like counties and see what cities, towns that have filed.
Can we print it?
I can print it. It may print in a very weird format because it's an Excel spreadsheet.
You wanna send it to me, I can try that.
Without looking at it, the bigger the county, the bigger the payout.
Not necessarily.
They changed that verbiage in the
So,
law.
yeah, so originally, not only was the Attorney General, was the state of Indiana essentially receiving 70% of the total proceeds, and this 35% restricted funds were not to be distributed to the counties directly, but originally they were distributed based on a per capita formula. So not necessarily the bigger the county, but the bigger the population. So in some respects, that part has been changed, and it's a weighted distribution formula based on harm caused to the county. That is how they have determined the amounts.
Now, when we get our payments paid out, some of what we get will automatically go to Scottsburg, some will automatically go to Austin?
No, they
Or
receive
do they
their
get
own.
a separate
You
settlement
s-
altogether?
You see there's,
Yeah.
yes, they have their own amounts.
So it's a whole different ballgame for them.
Correct.
They're on, okay.
Their attorneys will be doing their own version of
Okay.
these each.
Alright.
Yeah.
Let me see that
When
one.
was
I mean, I'm with you on
When are
it.
they thinking
Yeah.
monies would be distributed?
Do
So
the
that
same
is-
thing there, Mike.
Oh, I guess, yeah. I just meant
So
in
that's-
general, but that's,
So that's the thing about the question about the 2 million, the restricted use. It's on a yearly basis distributed over time, so it's not like there's gonna be
Right.
a lump sum, $2 million dropped into
but I mean,
I believe that it's over. I know that everyone keeps saying 11 months, which I think is, I got that from the meeting, I think, but when I look at like this document, it makes me think that there's 11 total payments from Jansen, at least. So maybe a little more than that, and then for the distributions from the other.
Like you would take
Actually, here's the
Yeah, I
18
got
payments. Here's the 18 payments. You're right. So payment 18. So it would be distributed annually over 18 years.
And
I
the
mean,
payments the
okay,
same
when-
each
When
year.
would the settlement be over and the money
It looks
start
like it, John.
being
Yeah.
paid out, is what I guess I was.
Looks,
So where's the opt back in date?
like you said, the 15.
Section 2.
I mean, are we a couple of years away, or 1 year away, or?
Yeah, when do we get it? Is that what you're asking? When do we get
Well, I
it?
just wanna see,
Yeah,
We would need to opt back in by July 15th is the new deadline in the statute. But that is, I think that our attorneys are essentially trying to get that way well beforehand so that all the documentation can be provided so that, to answer your question, on July 15th, essentially the entire settlement is done at that point. Now, in terms of when distributions would start, is the payment schedule. Doesn't put specific dates on there. And it just says annual basis. So I think it would be, there might be a payment distributed this year, it might start next year.
okay. All right, that's good.
All right.
That's what for me.
So I think, and just to be clear, I think that your outside counsel is recommending this. I think in terms of my limited knowledge about this type of litigation, I think that they have worked really hard to get some of the concerns that the county originally had, the reasons for why we opted out, back onto the table. There's been a substantial amendment to the law, and I think always in litigation. You're worried about what your worst day is, and what your best day is. And, settlement means somewhere in between. But to answer your question, payments certainly start now under this agreement earlier than they would you opt out, proceed to litigation, and there's, again, like Purdue, there's a whole gambit of things that can occur even after a final judgment. And this would be very extensive, litigation, so
Yeah.
And most all counties are opting in.
that's my belief.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to figure, if you didn't opt in, wouldn't be much
You would be
left.
stuck on an island.
Well, actually, there's 20 that got out. What I read was that part of the total agreement with all the pharmaceutical companies is that if all the counties don't opt in, they're not giving them the maximum payout to the state.
I believe that's correct.
So the state
There's an incentive.
has an incentive to get everybody on board because they're gonna get more money to distribute.
Yeah.
Distribute.
So
But, with that, I didn't like how it originally was doing. I thought it was a screwed up deal, but this, I can agree with this. My whole concern was our attorneys are smarter than we are, and if they say this is the deal, take it, then I'd say. we need to
yes,
take
and
it.
I don't want to speak out of turn, and I'm trying to remember the email that was sent to me, but I believe that the reduction in the attorney's fees provision was a part of the total package of settlement that was approved by the judge who's overseeing the multi-district litigation. So I think that everyone was involved and at the table when that percentage and these amounts were agreed to. So I think they feel like that it's good for them, and they feel like it's good for you as well.
The only thing aggravated me about the whole thing, again, was our Attorney General not really looking out for the counties. I don't think he was looking out for himself, so I didn't care much for that. And I've tried to call him and he never returned a call, so he didn't care too much about it.
I think luckily you hired very competent, outside counsel who was able to navigate both the legal and kind of
Okay.
political sides
Those are
of any of this litigation.
Going off the wall here a little bit, does our former county attorney have any? Did you get anything out of this?
He actually
Not that I know of.
sent me a letter or an
Right.
email or something stating that he was actually opting out all of it. And they was turning over to actually Josh in his office, which Josh is the attorney for both Austin and Scottsburg, so
Well, the only
he's
reason I-
involved in it, and I think
The only reason I ask that is for early, after, I think you was involved, after you got elected, him and Bob Tobias actually came in, and
yeah,
so I just wanna make sure there's not a claim there.
no, I don't think so, no.
Before you were there, I don't think you was even here yet.
He was still acting as a county attorney, and I'm sure he was paid for it, whatever his input was, so.
Yeah.
They kind of took control of it at that point.
They were just, they were the intermediators between,
You mean Bob Houston's
Bob
firm?
Houston and Bob
Yes.
Tobias were still in direct contact with the two attorneys in New Orleans and stuff, and they were just gonna be, if
So-
they heard something, they were gonna come to us and tell us, hey. here's
Yeah,
what
that's
we
kind
heard.
of- I took
I'm
away
on
from
a chain of emails that involves some attorneys from that office. I don't necessarily want
That's
to talk
fine.
about but I would assume, I hate assuming things, but if there was some type of agreement like that would have been made very clear to me at the outset when I received the documentation, but I've not been provided anything.
I don't think it was any financial thing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't either, I just wondered.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll entertain a motion, cause I gotta get out of here. I gotta entertain a motion. Is this resolution have a number on it, Tammy?
I'll just assign it later. I think it's gonna be 4, but I don't really wanna tell you
Okay.
that right now.
Anyway, I'm gonna entertain a motion to accept the resolution to opt back into the opioid settlement pursuant to Indiana Code 4-6-15-2, and, so.
I'll make that motion to opt back into the local settlement.
John makes a motion, Randy,
I second that motion.
No, I didn't put.
Randy seconds that, and I'll make that unanimous. You want to sign that? Have it in your hand. Put it where you did, wasn't supposed to. Well, it's either in a saw and behind a hammer, behind
No,
a
actually,
power tool. I mean,
it was a power tool. I'm building a duck bed out of from a bed that was already built. I'm extending it out and everything, but it's just cheaper, steel wise.
give that to Tammy. Give me the bottom part. I want that.
And then I would also ask for approval for Mike to sign on behalf of the county for
Need
the
a motion on that?
amendment to the attorney's fees. Yes.
I'll make a motion, let Mike sign it.
Second that.
John made a motion, Randy seconded that, and I'll make that unanimous. Just one place.
Yeah, I want to make sure that that's the right copy.
Anyway, the cutoff wheel
That's right.
got caught trying to kick back, and I got 7 stitches out of it.
Don't sound like no fun.
All right, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
John makes a motion, Randy seconds, I'll make that unanimous.
We're back on. We're back on video.
Okay.
We'll just have to update.
You've already talked to him?
No, this is just our first attempt.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system. 8.
Just have to update him.
Can we do this? Without him being here, he would know.
Yep.
Okay. So,
If we don't do it, it's worse.
so I'm calling this meeting back to order, is that correct?
Yes, yeah.
I've called this meeting back to order. It will be a continuation of the meeting that we ran a while ago and adjourned, but our attorney has advised us there's more information we need to.
Yeah, there's 2
Bring
more
about-
documents.
So we're bringing this meeting back to order.
Yeah, they're part and parcel of the documents that were already approved. It's just a notice that states that you have resolved to opt back in, but that gets sent to the Attorney General specifically. And then it's a settlement document essentially that is part and parcel of opting back in and this agreement, but this amends it a little bit.
And I need it printed.
So we need to sign on to these two?
Yes.
Okay. You're all up. I reckon they'll be right back. We'll continue here as soon as they get back in with the information we need. Not sure that thing's on, Randy. I'm not sure that's on.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Here we go.
Okay. So,
Hang on, I'm not sure she got that on.
okay, I'll wait for her.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially
I'm
the
just,
same thing.
anytime we vote, I like to have it recorded.
Gotta talk to Andrew
Mm-hmm.
We need to work on this out, so when we put something up there, you can read it with the app. Right now, you can't.
Yeah, I noticed that the first time we used it. It's a work in progress. Good idea.
Oh, yeah, it's excellent.
Are we on here, Tammy?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't see the light on, that's what I was asking.
He's got eyes on the other side. Do you
Okay.
see eyeballs? Do you see them little glowing eyes?
Yeah, right
That
there.
means he's
I thought
on.
that had to be on too.
That's why they
Okay.
call it
Yeah,
now.
he's
Okay.
glowing.
All right, we're back at
He's
it
glowing
again.
eyes.
All right.
All right. So, before we went off, we resolved to opt back in under 4615-2. This is a notice of opting back in that will be sent to a certified copy of the resolution adopted by the political subdivision evidencing its election to opt back in under that same code. Will be attached to this notice that will be sent to the Indiana Attorney General. So again, basically the exact same code numbers referenced, it's just with the same reference information for council.
So this is something we have to,
Vote. Well, you just need approval to sign. You've already voted
and
to,
would Mike sign this?
well,
We signed kind of.
Mike
agreement.
has left.
I mean, you need to do it today.
He could do it today if you
If they
give him
can-
authority
I don't
to
mind
sign.
signing it, we just mentioned earlier we're gonna let him sign this.
Yeah, do you, I mean, if you guys want to make a motion that in Mike's absence that John sign it.
That's what I
Yeah, you okay with that,
suggest.
Randy?
Yeah.
So
Make
is
a
that
motion.
Randy?
I'll make a motion, John could sign,
Okay,
this document in absence of.
let me read it, is that a good idea?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, notice of election to opt back into the opiate settlement under the Indiana Code 4-6-15-2. Scott County hereby submits notice to the Indiana Attorney General that it elects to adopt back into the opiate settlement pursuant to Indiana Code 4-6-15-2. Scott County hereby submits the following information pursuant to that code. The name of the political subdivision electing to adopt back in is Scott County. The contact information for an individual at this political subdivision who can provide information regarding decision to opt back in is, that be you?
Do what, I'm sorry?
The contact information for an individual at this political subdivision who can provide information regarding to the decision to opt back in is,
That would be me.
okay.
Yeah.
Would be Zach Stewart, our
Yes.
county attorney. Because this political subdivision is represented by counsel in this matter, the political subdivision has requested all communication relating to this decision to opt out is directed to the council.
I wonder, have we, in prior versions of the notices of election to opt out, did we designate somebody to,
I could probably go pull those from our last year's, it was
because
last
this,
year.
I don't think that this would be me. I think that I would be potentially right here instead of Frank, but he's on our
Who should be in there?
other resolution.
So I just want to make sure that Randy joined and moved to allow John Lisenby to sign additional documents needed to complete the opt-in package.
Yes.
Correct? And
Yes.
John, did you second that?
I second that.
So it's 2-0, gotcha. All right, do you want me to go look, pull the other opt?
Yeah,
Because we
can
had
look at the-
documents
yeah,
similar
Can we
to
look at the
that.
options to
So
opt
it's
out?
really just, hand that back to me, would you please? So even, I'll just go ahead and read it out.
Yeah,
And then,
there may be a change to the,
it would, according to this, it would be Dudenhaffer.
yes, which he's listed on our other documentation because he's representing you
Okay,
guys.
all right,
But I want to make sure that we didn't designate somebody.
okay. Frank Dudenhaffer Jr., Dudenhaffer Law Firm. Certified copy of the resolution adopted by this political subdivision evidencing its election to opt back in the and of the opiate settlement pursuant to the Code of Indiana is hereby attached. A copy of the agreement executed between the political subdivision and its private legal counsel that includes a term setting the amount of attorney fees owed to the private legal counsel is hereto attached. 7th day of March 2022. So I'll wait and see what he's got there. We've got a few minutes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, that's all correct, except the person to contact would be Mike Jones.
First in contact will be Mike Jones in right here?
Yes.
Okay.
You'll see.
But I can still sign this for today?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
when the county opted out, they
Okay.
designated Mike.
Okay. So the contact information for an individual at this political subdivision who can provide information regarding the decision to opt back in is Commissioner President Mike Jones.
Yep.
Okay.
And then this will just be a settlement participation form that describes, that is the same document. Again, entering into the settlement agreement, obviously you've resolved to opt in, but this is the specific form that needs to be submitted to the court.
Okay, do I go ahead and sign this one?
I would go ahead and sign that one and put Mike's name. And then, Tammy, if you would.
I'm writing my
Oh.
name in here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I need to attest.
yeah, I mean Mike's name on the, right there.
oh, yeah, I'll let her sign that. You
Yeah.
got better handwriting than I got.
This is a settlement participation form. Again, for authorized signatory, this time it's gonna be you. We will just authorize Tammy to fill in the address, city, state, phone, email, all that stuff. And below is your signature, name, title, and date. But again, it's a form necessary to be submitted in order to obtain benefits established under the distributor settlement, okay? Again, it contains a release of claims. So once you opt in and are considered part of the settlement, you're obviously releasing the claims associated with any pending litigation that's going on in exchange for receipts. Yes.
Mike Jones dated.
Yep, that's
Okay.
perfect.
No need for me to read all this, is there?
No.
You just need me to sign it?
Yes, and if you would take a vote to authorize John to sign it and for Tammy to fill in the information on the settlement
Okay.
form.
I make a motion to have John sign this and then Tammy to fill out.
I'll second that motion. Motion passes. So I will sign this document.
All right.
Okay, so Randy, John Lisenby to sign and TJ to complete, and you seconded that, right?
Yep,
So, is that it?
that's it.
Okay,
Sorry.
motion to adjourn again.
Anything else before we adjourn?
You need me to sign that?
No, that one is just, you need an authorized signatory, so just keep a record.
Motion
of the
adjourned?
minutes That we voted.
I second the motion.
Adjourn?
Yep,
Meeting
All right.
over.
adjourned again.